Hello and welcome back to the Not the Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks, back with James Black to look on what was just I think mental League Cup weekend is probably the only way to put it. We expected shocks. There was a lot of close ties. I don't think anybody could really have predicted just how odd the weekend would become. A few shocks. Some of the tighter games perhaps we perhaps edged one team for it just about. The other team got the fine margins, and that was the case for a lot of these games, and it makes for a really interesting last eight draw. A lot of new teams in that tie that haven't really been in that area of the competition in the last few years, as well as we will have a new winner of the trophy this season. So do remember to subscribe, like the video as well once you've finished watching, after you've dissected our opinions, and listen to SPFL managers and players as well from across the cup ties. How did you find the weekend, James? It was, I think,
I'm not quite sure where to start. It's been a bit mental. I think it's kind of some of the games went roughly as we predicted them to go. One or two. Well, I don't think anybody could have. Like Livingston, I don't think anybody could have predicted that.
No.
It's I think it's been a pretty good weekend all in all, kind of as a general thing. I think a few wee shocks, some really good games. I mean, even like Sunday's game with Falkirk Rangers, despite the kind of the obvious gulf between the side, I think Falkirk kind of really acquitted themselves well. So it's been a lot of positives to come out from it.
Right, we'll get to the sort of the fixtures, and we'll run through them before we sort of look ahead a wee bit to the League Cup last date, which isn't actually too far away in the distant future, 15th, 16th and 17th of December, I believe. Midweek ties as well. So more games to be crammed into December, just what clubs need. But these clubs will be delighted to be playing these games. Alloa 1, Hearts 0. I think you said it on the preview that Robbie Nielsen's not exactly got a great record down at the Rex. Alloa, Hearts aren't great at home in Alloa. They're one of those teams, Alloa, aren't they? It's always a hard place to go, despite nobody really having any stats to back that up. It's just a fairly horrible place to go. So it proved. Alloa beating Hearts, the only game that went to extra time over the weekend. They won 1-0, and Alan Troughton penalty. Dunfermline 3, Arbroath 1. This one probably for me is the game that was probably the most predictable and went the way most people expected it to. And to be honest, for me, probably the only game of the weekend you could really say that. Maybe another one that we'll mention.
Dundee.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. 3-1 for Dunfermline, fairly comfortable for Stevie Crawford's side, and they come through to the last eight. Hibs 1, Dundee 0 is probably the other one. Hibs, they're sort of wee bit of hitting hard times. Just obviously they started the season really well. Perhaps performances haven't been quite at the level they were in August, September time, but a good win for them nonetheless. Livingston 4, United 0. This one was a bit odd. I know Livingston are the Premiership team, but given the week they've had, then a lot of people seen this as a potential banana skin. But they were 3-0 up inside 15 minutes and 4-0 at half time. Game over basically in 20 minutes. Mullow 1, St Johnstone 2. Mullow were 1-0 up. I think I've seen quotes from midfielder Robbie Crawford saying they don't know how they found themselves 1 up. Wasn't a great day for the Steelmen, and St Johnstone eventually punished them for that. David Witherspoon scoring the winner, and St Johnstone through to the last 8. St Mirren 2, Aberdeen 1. Again, another one which I think if St Mirren hadn't have managed to win that, it'd have been proper head and hand stuff. Completely dominated the game. Should have been 2 or 3 up at half time, but it was still 1 each heading into the last minute before Jamie McGrath hit a shot at Joe Lewis. He turned to run back to the centre circle because he thought he'd missed his shot, and he turned round and Joe Lewis had inexplicably fumbled it through his legs. I was sitting in the stand. I didn't see the goal live because I went to type in my laptop. I thought it was just a wayward shot, and I just turned around and seen Joe Lewis in the net. I can't say it's the most bizarre goal I've seen live because I didn't see it.
Oh no, it's definitely the most bizarre I've seen. Oh God, no.
Obviously, the result of the weekend that everybody's talking about: Celtic 0, Ross County 2. Celtic are going.
Car park.
Celtic are going to dominate the headlines, the fan stuff after it, but Ross County, obviously, we'll talk about them in a wee bit, but an amazing result for them and a great result for Stuart Kettlewell, giving him under a wee bit of pressure in recent times, lifts that right off his shoulders. And then finally, Falkirk 0, Rangers 4. Falkirk actually did I know 4-0 obviously makes it sound like a heavy defeat, but Falkirk didn't actually do too bad in this, given the calibre of player they were up against. Right, we'll go through some of these in a bit of detail. Alloa won, Hearts 0. Hearts are a weird one because I think I've seen a few fans quite annoyed, basically saying that with Robbie Nielsen, it's almost a bit like he's a safe pair of hands. He's going to get the job done in the Championship. He's going to get them solid in the Premiership again. But are they ever going to do something spectacular under him? And I know that's quite early to say because it's early in his reign and stuff. But again, I think a lot of Hearts fans had a lot of expectation for a game like this that they could come, despite the record Robbie Nielsen's got there, that he could come and win pretty comfortably. But again, they were sort of showed up on the road.
Nothing that I didn't say over the summer, if I'm being slightly braggadocious. Nielsen was very much an appointment of convenience, I felt. He was somebody that was, as you say, a safe pair of hands. But I'm not a massive fan of Nielsen's, like as a manager. I think very competent, very middle of the road thing, but that's kind of it. He's very average and very middle of the road. But I wasn't surprised to see them go out to Alloa over the weekend. We said when we done the preview. I'm sure I burst out laughing when you said it should be a relatively easy tie for Hearts, because I'm not convinced Hearts are anywhere near as good as people make them out to be. They've had already this season. A fairly comprehensive defeat to Dunfermline. I think they had a 0-0 with Arbroath, if I remember rightly.
No, they won that. They won
that 1-0, sorry, yeah. But they made kind of really heavy work of it. And there was a lot of hype built around them, kind of off the back of beating Hibs in the Scottish Cup semi, which, yeah, they won a derby game, well done, fair play to them. But I've not been anywhere near convinced that they're going to just steamroll the Championship. And I think going to places like Alloa and struggling to even really, I don't think it's unfair to say that Hearts never really looked like they were going to win that game.
I think people I know that were destined for penalties, basically. It looked like it was just going to go to penalties and it was just going to be sudden death. Alloa did all right, did more than all right defensively to keep out of the likes of Liam Boyce and stuff, but perhaps didn't really look like scoring at all. And then obviously they get the penalty at the end, and Alan Troughton proving himself to be one of the better part-time players about still. Got up with the goal here into the last 8, and great occasion for Alloa. I know a lot because obviously Hearts are the ones getting beaten this. A lot of the headlines will surround them, but for Alloa to be in the last 8 of a domestic cup competition is great for them, and maybe that'll make their Twitter admin happy. And like,
would you be shocked given that they got a home draw in the quarters? Would you be totally shocked if they somehow snuck through at the semis? Like, seriously, given who they've got and the form that Hibs are in, stranger things have happened, man.
You need to be shocked given the disparities between the two teams. But we'll speak about that in a wee bit. One team who do look like steamrolling the Championship for me this year, I don't even think you can call them dark horses anymore. And I know this is a League Cup game, but Dunfermline, they are beating just about everybody in the path. At the start of the year, there was calls for perhaps Stevie Crawford that took Dunfermline as far as he could, but now I think he's lost. I know obviously you had the big break in the pandemic, but I'm pretty sure it's one loss in about 17 or 18 competitive games for them over the course of last season and this season. Started the season brilliantly, and they don't really look like losing anytime soon. They're very solid at the back, and they're scoring 2 and 3 goals every weekend.
Yeah, they've, especially when you think that they lost Kevin Nisbet over the summer, because that's a massive, massive blow for anybody.
They've replaced him with a centre back,
which is crazy. I mean, admittedly, like Crawford did bring in a fair bit of experience over the summer. Like Stevie Whittaker coming in, we're talking a guy who's been there and done pretty much everything there is to do in Scottish football. So he'll certainly be helping out a lot of the younger lads. But Crawford deserves a lot of praise for the work he's been doing in Dunfermline the last few months.
Dundee, another 1-0. Jamie Murphy really hitting form. Really happy to see him hit form, obviously. Started out at Mullow, started really well. Gone down south, had a great career there, but perhaps since coming back up here, it's not quite worked. as well. As said, Hope obviously started well at Rangers, but had that really bad injury. Never been in doubt how good a player he is, and if he's playing in the form he's in now, arguably Hibs' best player, I'd say, alongside Kevin Nisbet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's Murphy's injury at Rangers was a real sliding doors moment for me, because I've always felt that had Murphy not got injured, I'm not entirely convinced Rangers would have had the same kind of, I don't want to say desperation, but the same need to go and when they went and signed Ryan Kent. I don't think that would have necessarily happened had Murphy not got hurt, or it would not have been as important a move at least. So it's a real sliding doors for his career. But going to Hibs, he was ripping it up at Burton when he went out on loan last season, before the pandemic kicked in, and he's kind of starting to really hit the ground now with Hibs. It's 2 goals and an assist in his last 2 games. So it's good to see Murphy back playing again, playing consistently. And he's one of those players who, I know we've spoken about Scotland and their dearth of attacking options a lot in the past. There's one who could just be a dark horse for the Scotland squad.
But the way he's playing, when you think Callum Patterson, Ollie McBurney, I know Ollie McBurney's a Premier League striker and stuff, but given his form on the domestic scene at Sheffield United, I think have literally started the worst Premier League campaign of anybody.
Even worse than the famed derby of 2007, 2008.
Even I can remember derby of 2007, 2008. So I am aware of just how bad that's. I think more with them, but derby wasn't it? They obviously started okay, but it was more after this point they basically.
Yeah. I actually looked at this on Twitter the other day because somebody mentioned it, and I'm sure up to this point of the season, Derby had picked up 6 points. I think it was the first 10 games Derby picked up 6 points, and then after that they picked up 5 for the rest of the season. So, it's no looking great for the Blades, although we're going to have kind of gone off on a complete tangent here.
Yes, we're going off on a complete tangent. We'll bring you back to Easter Road. We spoke to Jack Ross and James McHake at full time in that one.
Yeah, delighted. It's not easy to win games and not easy to win cup ties. And to reach another quarter-final was brilliant for the club and for that group of players. So delighted with it today. It was hardly expected it to be. I think when you play a team so quickly again and you've beaten them obviously comfortably in the first game, I think the next game is usually harder or more difficult. So yeah, delighted. I think just to continually, we've won quite a lot of matches this season, and our performance level has been good, and to keep producing that is demanding psychologically as well. And I just knew it would be tough today, and tried to use obviously the squad. I thought the players who came on all helped us win the match and were excellent, so that's pleasing for me as well. So yeah, today it was cliched, but in cup competition ultimately it's about progressing to the next round, and it was difficult, but I thought we deserved to do so. Yeah, look, football's you're judged on results. To get results you need performances consistently. I go on about that, like a broken record, and the performance was really proud of my players, but gutted for them at the same time. I've taken myself at it, and I'm hurting because I wanted to win the next round of the cup, but my players are devastated in there because I think they know that they deserve more at that game. They didn't deserve to lose that game. What would have happened in the extra time if we'd have got back in it? Who knows? That would maybe have been a different post-match chat that I'm having here at the minute. But no, devastated for them. But we perform like that consistently, and we'll certainly win a lot more games, and we'll even draw or lose. That performance was really good, but ultimately we've lost the game and we're down. But look, I can't ask any more from my players today. And then it could have took a bouncy, a ball in a box, a chance or something. Limit them to 3, I think. 3 clear-cut chances. We had 3 clear-cut, whatever. The stats are the stats. It's regardless. It's irrelevant. They won the game. A great finish, and even that's a bit unlucky. Ashcroft tries to do it. We've been working on all week, going after Kevin Nisbet. The boy shanks the clearance. Ashcroft slips. Murphy's great. Good players. We'll go punishing at this level. If that happens, we'll punish you, but in terms of compared to last week, I'm extremely proud of my players, and I think you could see the fight and the determination in that team there.
Right, Livingston versus Ayr United, 4-0 in that one. Davy Martindale in interim charge. Great victory. Can't really start any better than he did. And we heard from him at full time.
No bad first 5 minutes. This management game's easy, isn't it? Nah.
Just a perfect start.
To be honest, the boys were brilliant. They went out and they started in the front foot. I said to them, look, you get through this, you're one game away from Hampden, which is, for a lot of boys, and including myself, it's somewhere we were there in League One against Queen's Park, but cup tie wise, it's somewhere we want to go and we'd love the club to go. So it was a wee bit of heart taken from that, shall we say, and I think the boys responded really well to that. I don't know, just need to take that into the league now. Take it into the league, hopefully that form continues. It's not as easy in the Premier League, obviously, but we've always done well in this competition since me and Hoppy in League One days. I think we've always been fairly successful in this competition. Honestly, I think, obviously, knowing Livingston would get to Hampden, the fans wouldn't be able to done, but from looking at a community point of view, I think it would be absolutely huge. Looking at it from a board point of view, again, I think it would be absolutely massive. And from a player's point of view and a coaching staff point of view, it'd be unbelievable. Everybody wants to be at Hampden in semi-finals and finals, and it'd be great if the club could do something like that.
I don't think anybody, even though, as we already said, Livingston, the Premiership team, they would have probably been favourites regardless of the sort of week they've had with Gary Holt resigning. I don't think anybody would have predicted they'd win 4-0, and I mean, by all accounts, it could have been 6 or 7.
No, nobody. If anybody had that on their coupon at the weekend, then I want them to give me Friday's Euro my win numbers. That was a real shocker. I think especially given who they were playing, Ayr are by no means a poor side. So to kind of see Ayr turned over so comprehensively was just almost as big a surprise as seeing Livy score 3 times in the first 15 minutes. But it's great start for David Martindale. Real clear evidence there that there's been a big bounce for the players, and it kind of ties back into what was said previously about Gary Holt when he said that the players have been fed up of him. You know, regardless of whether they were or not, it kind of built that thing now where they need to, I think it kind of put a bit of pressure on the players now to come out and be like, oh no, we're not, and we're still more capable of doing what we need to do. And it's just a shame they couldn't put in that kind of performance in the last few weeks.
Yeah. Well, it's as well. We did this thinking of Gary Holt and things like that. I don't know if you're Gary Holt reading that, you're thinking, so why did you not turn that up when I was still in a job? But a good result for them nonetheless. And Livingston have got, we'll obviously speak about that a bit later, but they've got a massive chance to reach their first sort of National Cup semi-final since 2004 when they actually got to a final. So good one for them. Mullow St Johnson's the other one, and we heard from a not so happy Stephen Robinson and a very happy Callum Davidson at the end of that one at Fir Park.
But we didn't do enough to win the football match, simple as that. Yeah, 2 ridiculous pieces of defending. First goal, you know, we talk about playing forward and being positive. We didn't. At half time we told them to play forward, play positive, make it 3v3 with our system. When we take our first touch backwards and we're negative, and you got punished for it. The second one's just such poor communication. You know, we leave Robbie exposed 1v1 against the quickest player on the pitch, and people don't take responsibility. So really disappointing, but as I say, we got what we deserved. There's always a possibility of a good run, but I thought we looked fluffy. I thought we didn't look as hungry as them. They came out with every second ball. So we've got lots of good players in the team, potentially good players, I say. But we just lack a wee bit of, for want of a better word, I won't use it in the press conference. We just need a bit more determination. We need to do the dirty bit of football better than what we've done and have done over the 2 games that we've played them. You know, they're not a big strong side, but they've got know-how. We want to have the perfect match, the perfect goal, the perfect passing sequence, but you don't do the simple things well, you get beat, and said it time and time again. I said to them afterwards, do we miss Alan that badly? But I'll answer that myself, yeah we do. Because without him we've got no bite, we've got nobody that wants to go and put their body on the line, and nobody that wants to go and get hurt. I singled out 4 players who I thought done very well, were at the top of the game, and the rest of them were miles away.
Start sort of taking a little bit of a foothold in the game, and then we lost the ball for me against the run of play. Some we could have avoided, but for me then after that the character shown by the players I thought was absolutely terrific. And I think don't normally single players out, but I thought Michael dragged us back into the game with his heart more than anything else. For me that was really pleasing to see. It's quite easily done, because I think a lot of times this season we've played well and lost 1-0. And I think obviously the run of games we're on just now, I think it gives them that little belief that they're doing the right thing. And again, pleased for Callum Hendry. Maybe start the season the ball went and dropped at his foot, and it did today, and he tucked it away and got us back into the game. Yeah, definitely. I think he's obviously defensively, he's actually in training, he's actually heading balls in training, which is really pleased to see. But I think obviously Sean Rooney behind him, so deputising for Jason, who's normally a wing back or a right back. I thought he was excellent today. And got to remember he's still a young man, learning his game, learning his sort of trade at this level. I thought he was tremendous too.
I think Mull in this one, especially given that this was they had the wee break from the group stage, they got a free pass through that, perhaps benefited more from that than the likes of Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen. I know Mull have had a fairly good record in the group stages, but perhaps out of those three teams just mentioned, they were perhaps the ones who benefited more just because they are the smallest team out of those four that were in Europe. And again, at home to St Johnstone, it was never going to be easy given the tight affairs between these two this season. But I think Stephen Robinson was more dejected just with how lackadaisical his side were. They just didn't seem at it for the first time in a wee while, albeit I think a result like this was coming from Mull. They've not been beaten off anybody outside of Celtic or Rangers and Hapoel Beersheva since the end of August. So a result like this was going to come at some point. I wonder maybe if they're slightly, not obviously they want a cup run, clubs like Mull, finances and everything that comes with it, a cup run's massive, but would you rather a result come like this in the League Cup, or would you rather it come in the league?
No, definitely. And I think when Robinson spoke about Motherwell's lackey Alan Campbell, to see just how much he makes them tick. He is absolutely, he's the one player in that squad who really makes a big difference for them. And you can see the last couple of games when he's been out, they've kind of lacked that wee spark in midfield. So Robinson will probably be sitting there counting down the minutes until he can get him back in his squad.
Yeah, he'll be back the game against Hibs.
He'll be back this weekend?
Back at the weekend for them. Perhaps more worryingly, I know Alan Campbell's not going to be at Mull for the rest of his career, but his contract is up in the summer. Still no announcement on whether that's been tied up yet. Not even so much just for keeping him for another year. Mull could easily, if he's on a 2 or a 3 year deal, Mull could easily make David Turnbull type money out of Alan Campbell. Probably got another couple of ones as well, the likes of Stephen O'Donnell as well, his deal coming up to an end in January. But for St Johnstone, a great result for them. Their good form continues. Obviously started a wee bit sticky under Callum Davidson, always quite good in defence, but missed that wee attacking link, and now they seem to have got it. I don't think they've got a regular goal scorer as such, but it doesn't seem to be a problem just now, as they're sort of that forward line of a Halloran, May, Witherspoon, they're all sort of chipping in a wee bit. Callum Hendry as well got a goal at the weekend, which is big for him. And St Johnstone, they'll be very pleased given it was a tough tie for them. St Mirren Aberdeen, another one. We'll hear from Jim Goodwin and Derek McInnes. This one, the bizarre ending to that was just you literally couldn't write it. But Jim Goodwin deleted at full time, and McInnes conceding that his side probably didn't deserve to win in the end anyway.
Yeah, I thought every single player, starting 11 and even the guys that came on, all contributed hugely. I have to say I was really disappointed to come in at half time, one each, after how much we dominated the opening 45 minutes. I think if we had been 3-0 up, I don't think there could have been too many complaints from anybody. We had a really good show for a penalty as well. And we still haven't had one of them all season. I think we're the only team in the Premier League, in fact, that hasn't been awarded a penalty. So it'd be nice to get one of those decisions in our favour. But listen, when it goes one each, it's very easy for a team to capitulate and to feel sorry for themselves, and they let the heads go down. But credit to the players, they didn't allow that to happen. And we asked them at half time just to go out and try and replicate what we've done in the first 45. If we did that, I believe we'd win the game, and thankfully that proved to be the case. Yeah, no, definitely. And listen, there has been great belief within the group. You know, there's been a lot said out with, you know, our dressing room, if you like, but you know, we know why that poor run happened. You know, we've got plenty of reasons for it, and I'm not calling them excuses, because they're not excuses. They are genuine reasons as to why we had that dip in form. We started the league ever so well, and then we had COVID, and it took its toll. But we're the other side of that now. You know, I've spoke long and hard about what happened to us there. I don't want to speak about it anymore. I want to speak about us going forward now, and I think we've got a fantastic group when everybody's healthy. And I've always said it. I think out with the top 4 teams in the Premier League, I think we're all capable of beating each other. And it's about consistency, it's about momentum, and it's about confidence. And results like that breed confidence. And hopefully we can take that into next week's game against Aberdeen, because you know, they'll no doubt be hurting after tonight, and they'll be coming back down like wounded animals next Saturday, I'd imagine, and wanting to get some revenge. So we have to be prepared for that.
We didn't start the game right. We gave St Mirren the initiative, even from the goal early on, the free kick. You know, technically a very good goal from their point of view, but we were dithering in the middle of the park. We were slow to react, didn't turn over the ball, and then from there we're playing catch up, which results in a challenge on the edge of our box, and they took full advantage of it. It was a fantastic goal from their point of view, but it would probably epitomised that passage of play, that kind of uncertainty in the middle of the park, just a bit unsure rather than just going and deal with the situation, being more aggressive, getting onto the ball quicker, playing forward, and as I say, I didn't think we started anything in the first half. Even the equaliser, you know, let's not kid ourselves, we were second best throughout the first half. So, you know, sometimes you might think you don't need to make the changes because you get your goal, but I felt we needed to make the changes at half time. We wanted to try and change our shape. Our shape should have been better than it was, but you know, that shape's been good for us. We should have had Hedges, McGinn causing them problems, but in the middle of the park, that extra body, we'd never seen it. I thought they looked as if they were enjoying the middle of the park far too much. So we went man for man, played against them second half, and I thought we were better. I thought we competed, and I thought St Mirren didn't enjoy the game clearly as much. And we were just thinking of preparing for extra time, really. We were limited what we could do, but I thought we had a couple of penalty shouts second half. I haven't seen them back again. Whether they were legitimate, I don't know. I haven't seen it again, but certainly thought there was enough going on with 1 or 2 of them. But and you need that little bit of break sometimes in a cup tie, and unfortunately for us, a mistake has put us out the cup ultimately, just as we're going to extra time.
Aye, it was. I think over the course of the game, St Mirren deserved to win anyway. Perhaps that goal at the end was the world's way of saying, you know, on you go, St Mirren, you deserve this. Into the last 8 you go. Because I think if Aberdeen had managed to get through that, you'd have been thinking, wow, how.
Oh, absolutely. It's that bit of luck that St Mirren have been lacking in the last couple of months. I think everything that could have gone against them has went against them recently. So you get the keeper more or less throwing it into the back of the net in a couple of minutes to play, then fair play. Jim Goodwin will know that they'll be happy. But I think the biggest thing for St Mirren was the fact that they very much looked solid, and you know, they were a very cohesive unit. I spoke at the start of the season that if they can keep everyone fit and get a regular goal scorer, then there's absolutely no reason why St Mirren can't challenge for a top 6 place. I think on the back of their performance against Aberdeen, I don't necessarily think it's a case that Aberdeen played particularly poorly. I just think St Mirren played really well. I think kind of writing it off as just, well, Aberdeen were really bad is quite unfair in Jim Goodwin's side. I do think, I've spoken about the defence quite a few times. I think it's a really good unit. I think the likes of Jack Annick, Conor McGrath, who's been in there for quite a bit, Marcus Fraser, there's somebody else who I can't remember, one of the Irish fellas whose name completely slips my mind.
Conor McCarthy.
That's the one. I think they're a really good defensive unit it's Jim Goodwin's strength, you know, as much as he was kind of decried a bit as a bit of a thug as a player, he does tend to set his teams up really well, and he does seem to work really well with his players and kind of get his ideas across to them. So yeah, a very good result for St Mirren.
Jake Doyle-Hayes as well, they've only signed him at the end of the season. He plays like that for the rest of the season. He won't be there. He'll be at a big club down south. He looks. Jim Goodwin said that basically they wouldn't have got him if it wasn't for COVID and the financial impacts of that, because he'd have moved to a championship club or a League One club down south, and you can definitely tell he's of that level. Very, very good technically. Big one over the weekend, of course. Ross County beating Celtic 2-0. I don't, even though Celtic are on a bad run, despite all the hysteria that has happened with Scotland's most dominant side in terms of titles and trophies in the last, I mean, it's been going on
decade almost.
10 years, I don't think anybody could have predicted. It's somewhat apt, I think. The last side to beat Celtic in this tournament in the League Cup was Ross County. They've since went on to win the last 4 titles, and it's Ross County again who beat them in it 2-0. Can't say it was anything but deserved. Ross Stewart scoring the penalty turned into some sort of prime. I mean, I don't know what are these legendary strikers Ross Stewart played like. Van Basten, is that one of them? Played like a guy like that, and they look disgusted. One of the type of strikers, and Alex Iacoviti. I apologise if anybody in his family watched that video and I butcher his second name. But he scored the header at the end and sent Ross County through to the last 8. I genuinely, I don't want to sound like I'm being disrespectful, and Ross County absolutely deserved it. Were completely better than Celtic. Not even they took their 2 chances that they were given. Celtic didn't really have, even though they had a couple of chances. Albion Ayeti hit the post. I wasn't sitting there thinking, wow, Celtic are going to go and score 3 or 4 here. They were very passive, and that was a credit to Ross County. But it didn't make the Scottish football world any less shocked when the full-time whistle went.
County deserved their one. Completely deserved their one. You look at the defending for that second goal, though.
Cole Donaldson manages to run that far, flick it on, and then Iacoviti just runs into the box from outside it.
Somebody paid £13 million for that left back. £13 million. Somebody paid.
And by Cole Donaldson.
And it was like absolute comic cuts defending. It's the sort of stuff you would see in youth games, and you would be like, what the going on here? This is like who's training these guys? Who's coaching these guys? And without wanting to take away from Ross County, I think the bad bit for them is that what is a really, really good result for them is somewhat going to be lost in the complete overreaction of Celtic fans after the game. Because, and I don't know whether you'll maybe end up cutting this or not, but it's one of the most self-entitled reactions I have ever seen from a fan base in football. Absolutely, they're in a bad run of form just now. Jesus Christ, throwing barriers at the Polos because he's got knocked out the cup.
Aye. Try and obviously the headlines and stuff are going to focus on that, and everyone that went with that, media, players, evacuated and escorted out of Parkhead. And of course, I mean, it's given those type of scenes, it's somewhat natural that they're obviously going to end up in front of everybody's timelines of Parkhead and stuff. But that shouldn't take away from the fact that Ross County's result, I mean, that's a potential if they can take the gutting thing for them is they've got Rangers next. See if they'd have had somebody in the bottom 6 or pretty much anybody outside of the Old Firm, they would really have fancied their chances, especially at home, getting a result, and that could really kickstart their form again. They obviously started the season fairly well, and form has sort of fell off a cliff a wee bit. So now this is a real chance for them to, hopefully for their sake, kick on and keep themselves up this season. They'll just be gutted they've got Rangers next weekend, because I think, without wanting to sound too disrespectful, Rangers are a different kettle of fish than to Celtic.
One of the really good things for them, I think, is that it's going to be one of these games now where Stuart Kettlewell can say to his squad, well, you've done this is the level now. You know, you can't go out to Kilmarnock and put in a half-hour shift. You can't go to St Mirren and go through the motions. they've shown now that they can go to places like Celtic Park and very much compete. Because again, it wasn't as if Ross County snatched a win for defeat there. Ross County were very much deserving of the win. So there's going to be a thing, and I think it kind of applies to Falkirk a bit, and I'll kind of go into a wee bit more when we get to the Falkirk game. But it's very much going to be one of these games now where you've shown you can do this, so there's no excuse for not doing this consistently. It's just whether Kettlewell can get that from his players, and I don't doubt that he can. I think you see some of the players in that squad, guys like young Stevie Kelly, who's just kind of making his way in the game. He's kind of first season of top flight football. That must be a massive thing for him that he's come into the side. And there's a few boys at Ross County that's in the same boat, that they've just starting their first season or two as, first team senior pros in the Premiership. And going to Celtic Park and being part of the team who ends their admittedly fantastic dominance of the domestic cups in the last 5 years, that's a very big thing for them.
On the Sunday, Falkirk versus Rangers, 4-0 defeat for them. Probably a bit disappointing they conceded so early on. Jermaine Defoe doing what he does, scoring pretty much with his first touch. And it was an uphill battle for them. They did fairly well. Obviously, Rangers made a lot of changes and stuff, perhaps took the sting out of the game a wee bit at the end. But Falkirk had some nice stuff, had chances of their own. Mark Durnan missed a really good header at a point in the game. So, yeah, I don't think David McCracken and Lee Miller were too disappointed.
Connor Salmon should have scored right after the restart. See when he picked up on Bassey's poor pass back? If Falkirk had scored then, and I'm not going to say for a second that would have been the spark that led to the great comeback, but had he got that little bit of luck and managed to get by McLaughlin with that one, it becomes a whole different game. And I think you see Falkirk just that wee bit more into that wee bit more spring in their step and kind of take the game a bit more to Rangers in the second half. I think by the time it had gone to 4-0, or even 3-0, everybody knew it was over by half time. And I think the kind of the first maybe 10 minutes of the second half in particular, Falkirk had some kind of really nice stuff, and probably the most threatening spell of the game. But again, like the Ross County game that we mentioned there, it's one of these ones for David McCracken and Lee Miller to go to their players and say, first of all, that's the level that you want to aspire to be in terms of Rangers. But you have also shown this level for your own performances, and it was a quite disrupted Falkirk team. And they had two players come out through COVID who, I think through the process of elimination, I think most people can probably figure out who it was. I'll not name names since I don't think they're public yet. But I know at least one of those sparked at least two changes in the start line because they having to reshuffle all the players on the side. So kind of having that last minute kind of disruption won't have helped Falkirk much. So yeah, there's a lot they can take away from that game.
You had a nice solo chat with Charlie Telfer at the end of it, as he gave his thoughts to the full-time result.
I think it's just me. So, bit of a start for you this afternoon tonight. How do you think it went?
Yeah, it's always disappointing 4-0. But I think at times we did alright. I think we played, got on the ball, tried to play, lacked a bit of quality in the final third, and we made a few mistakes for the goals. But all in all, I think we gave a good account of ourselves.
Definitely, it's one of the things that Liam Crack had spoke about before the game is kind of these were just going to come, just give it a go. There was no point kind of just defending and kind of waiting for inevitable. So is that just kind of something that gives you a bit of confidence, just that you didn't revert to doing kind of silly things and making silly mistakes given the quality?
Yeah, I think Craxton before the game said we're not going to sit in and just be really ultra defensive because they've got such quality that they'll eventually pick you off and then you're chasing results. So it gave us a platform, they gave us a basis of, right, we'll wait for triggers, we'll wait for moments to go, and then when we do, we need to take our chances or we need to have that pass that will break them down. But at the end of the day, it didn't come off tonight. But I think we gave, as I said again, a good account of ourselves.
Is it one as well, if kind of from your own perspective, that you can look at it and go, well, Rangers, that's the standard we want the very highest, but also for your own performances, that you didn't come out with this looking poorly or anything, you came out with this playing really well, I thought.
I know that's what Craxonley said there after the game, that they've learnt so much from it, and even me personally as well, I've learnt so much from it. You see, they're bringing on the young boys and they are going straight into a system that they're following what Arfield is doing, like the centre mid's coming on, doing the same movement, and it's that next level. You see them doing it in Europe against the best teams, and yeah, we can learn so much from it because we're in a similar position that we're going to win leagues, we need to win games, and it have to have a system, and everyone needs to know their jobs, and that was a prime example of it tonight.
Right, we'll have a wee look at the last day. We'll obviously preview this in more detail when the time comes for these games to be previewed. The draw was St Mirren v Rangers, Alloa v Hibs, Livingston v Ross County, Dunfermline v St Johnstone. Some really, especially I think for Livingston, Ross County, Dunfermline, St Johnstone, those are four sides that very rarely get to these sort of occasions, these sort of big showpiece, especially Dunfermline. I know St Johnstone are in good form and stuff. But given Dunfermline could have got a Hibs, they could have got Rangers, even like trips to St Johnstone, St Mirren, to get a home tie, they must be really fancying their chances to take a big step towards a return to Hampden and cup competition. Livingston v Ross County for me, I know obviously it's not the biggest tie of the round, but for me it's tie of the round just in terms of what it means for both these football clubs. Ross County have obviously been to the National Stadium and had success there recent-ish times in the League Cup under Jim McIntyre. But again, for Livingston, they've not been there in a very long time. So given what they've been through, it'll be another massive lift for them. St Mirren Rangers, St Mirren must be gutted. They get through Aberdeen and do they get landed with Rangers?
Yes and no. What I would say to that would be, should St Mirren beat Rangers, that's another huge scalp for them, and it's very much the sort of result, given the form Rangers have been in this season, that if you're the first team domestically to beat Rangers, that's a big thing, and that's a big boost for any side season. And you've got to beat them to get there. You've got to beat everybody. Well, not everybody, but you've got to beat the big teams to win the trophy.
Yeah.
So,
Jim Goodwin made the point of that he gets that, but he would rather beat the big teams in the semi-final and the final. He wants to at least get to these big occasions first before playing them.
I think that had this been around further on, you'd see even less chances at Mirren beating Rangers. I think they've got a much better opportunity in Paisley than they ever have at Hampden. That big pitch suits Rangers, and it's one of these ones where St Mirren can kind of use their familiarity to their advantage, and there's all the wee tricks that go into these sort of things. Like I'd probably even go as far as to say with the Aberdeen game, had that been at Hampden, I'd have been far more confident in Aberdeen going through than I was St Mirren.
Maybe we'll have a Ross County style shock in this round. It's obviously a great incentive for every team involved now. Celtic are out at a stage much earlier than anticipated. I think even though the run of form they were on, teams probably would have expected Celtic to get out. You need to expect Celtic to make at least every final given the run of form they've been on in the domestic cups. So for them to be out before the quarter-final stage and the likes of Alloa, Livingston...
More importantly, to have lost their fifth consecutive treble before they've won or lost their fourth is quite the quirk.
Yeah, we'll never see things like this in Scottish football again. We never really mentioned Alloa Hibs there. Alloa, well, fans...
That's the tie around for me.
Jack Ross going back to the Rex and stuff, and Alloa, it's a great tie for them regardless. Playing big Premiership team in a one game away from Hampden, but it's one of those, isn't it? You're always wondering what if you lose that, but if you win it, then it's. If Alloa win that, where does it rank in their modern history? Getting to a cup semi-final.
Getting to a semi is a big thing. Beating Hibs isn't necessarily, if that makes sense.
Not the beating of Hibs, just getting to the semi-final.
Getting to a semi would be huge for them. Be absolutely massive for Alloa. huge for the town and the club itself. And as I said earlier on, I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if they did. They're very much a team who...
Yeah, it's going to be a shame for some of these clubs that they're going to get to these showpiece semi-finals. Like Alloa, if they got to a semi-final, when are they next getting to a semi-final? I mean, and then fans aren't actually there to see it. It would be bittersweet almost.
Park managers, burglars will be gutted. They'll not have an empty town to have their pickings of.
Oh well.
But, no, it's sad. I really do. I think, especially Alloa's Cup history. See, if you look at Alloa's Cup history over the last few years at the Rex, it's surprisingly good. I'm sure they've had like either beat or drew with Aberdeen, beat Hearts, they've kind of made life tough for a few teams there. Obviously, they're famously drawn with Rangers there. Their Twitter admin's getting some mileage out of this week. But it's absolutely a really big chance for them, and I think it'd be foolish to write them off. And there's one that I seen on Twitter actually after the Hearts game. A certain high-profile pundit who shall remain nameless, since it's not David Tanner. Hi, David. Saying that it was a massive shock and nobody could see that one coming. Like, I don't understand why nobody would have seen that one coming. I think Robbie Nielsen's lost his last 5 games at the Rex. Hearts don't tend to travel well. Alloa do well at home. We're looking at Hibs form this season. Hibs, mentioned it earlier on, they're starting to kind of not go backwards a bit, but they're not playing the same open, free-flowing football they were earlier in the season. They're not scoring anywhere near as many goals. And it's one of these games that you can very much see that if Alloa frustrate Hibs, why can't they beat them?
It's an interesting one. Jack Ross gets his old team in this, and then obviously Sunderland sacked Phil Parkinson yesterday as well. Sacking Jack Ross worked well for Sunderland, didn't it?
I think Sunderland being Sunderland just now is not working out very well for them, to be honest.
No. But we'll digress. This video actually went on for quite a length of time. But we hope you have enjoyed, obviously, a bit of a lengthy review this one. We'll be back with Premiership previews and reviews, as well as any other wee videos we have during the week. We've had a fair few bounce back. We've got some interviews on the way, but technical issues and delays have been a running theme in November. But we hope to bring you some of them over the course of December as we hit the winter months, and we're going to be teasing it in a lot of upcoming videos. We do have an very exciting announcement that is actually going to happen on time as scheduled. I hope.
Was the night before Sparta?
Perhaps. But we'll see. Do remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and until next time, take it easy.